Hey guys, it's Stephen here. Welcome back to another video. Football is back and no rest for the wicked and all that. And tomorrow it's the Community Shield game. And today I thought I'd basically try something a little bit different. I did ask my good friend Paul Machin over at Redmen TV if he minded sending 3 or 4 minutes of video clip just for me to use in my match preview. And Paul, being the absolute wordsmith that he is, went on for a little bit longer than I planned. He went on for about 7 minutes, and I thought, you know what? Instead of me just kind of dumping that in the middle of my match preview, why not make that into an actual video and let him have the spotlight himself? Because Paul is a wonderfully passionate fan, and he knows his club inside out more than pretty much anyone. So today I thought basically I'd let Paul take the handle and essentially talk all about this Community Shield in an opposition preview kind of thing. Usually when I do opposition previews, I kind of, I record it live with them and interview and all that kind of stuff. But in this instance, I don't really need to set up Paul for questions. Like me, he can talk about his club for absolutely hours on end, or more or less unprompted. So in this instance, I'll pass you over to Paul. Of course, if you're a fan of what he's saying, go check out Redmen TV. Paul is a wonderful guy. I've done many videos of him over the years. Top bloke. Cheers for this, Paul. And here's Paul's thoughts on tomorrow's game, Liverpool's pre-season and all that kind of stuff. Enjoy it. And don't forget, as well, if you enjoyed this kind of video, please do hit the subscribe button, like, and all these stuff. Anyway, over to Paul. Go check out their channel, and my preview will be up later on today as well. Cheers.
Yeah, it's been a funny old pre-season for Liverpool with the usual raft of sort of ups and downs, and whether it's a true reflection of where Liverpool are at, I would suspect probably not. What we tend to see in Liverpool pre-seasons is them struggle to really click, maybe not find the back of the net, concede a couple of daft goals and what have you, and then as we get toward the back end of pre-season, last couple of games, it tends to come good, and then they start the season really strong. But obviously in the glaring eyes of the social media age, every game seems to get poured over extra scrutiny where it's probably unnecessary, and not quite as more so as ever been as prevalent with is the signing of 𝙏𝙬𝙞𝙩𝙧. Of course, you guys will be familiar with this kind of thing. It's Erling Haaland and it's 𝙏𝙬𝙞𝙩𝙧, and it's this big, like, these two titanic titans are going to be going up head to head and squaring off, and this is the season of those two guys. And okay, yeah, that's sort of fair to some extent. The two big eye-catching signings of the summer by the two best teams in the country. Where I think that slightly differs is, I think Haaland is right now in his career is just a little bit ahead of 𝙏𝙬𝙞𝙧, particularly the level he's been playing at. The Bundesliga is a better level than the Liga NOS, or the Portuguese League, or whatever it's called these days. Albeit both, obviously very, very talented footballers. We saw 𝙏𝙬𝙞𝙧 score 4 the other day against Leipzig, which I think relieved a little bit of the pressure. Not that it's massive, but, again, this idea of everyone's watching every sort of kick and overanalyzing everything. Liverpool feel they're probably a week or so away from being truly ready, and of course that makes sense because ultimately we're a week away from the proper football starting. I don't think either manager would truly want to be playing each other. I don't think either manager truly wants the Community Shield to be getting played this week. Klopp referenced it, and I think in his press conference, about how, like, ideally they probably could have found a better date for it. The idea that we play, okay, it's a pseudo competitive game of football, which is made more competitive by the fact that it's between the two best football teams, with the biggest football rivalry on the pitch currently, probably in world footy. So there's a talent, certainly. It means that it's a bigger game than it probably should be. Both teams, if it was another opponent, would probably take this less seriously, which is a little bit of a headache for the managers. Good for us as fans, because it's good to get your teeth into a proper game of football, I think. But yeah, I think both sets. I don't truly understand how Man City do pre-season. They don't seem to play games, which feels odd to me as a Liverpool fan, where Liverpool do all kinds of stuff. Normally we have a run of local fixtures in, like, the Northwest, and then more of the big boys come back, and then they'll go on tour and do 2, 3, maybe 4 games, then come back and have a handful of local friendlies as well. Whereas this, obviously, Liverpool play a game on Sunday. Actually, for those who are familiar with this, we played the Community Shield against City on Saturday, and then there is a friendly game on Sunday evening. returning. So there's going to be some players, I think, kept back for that one. It's mad. That makes it really hard to predict what Liverpool are going to do expressly in the starting 11 for this one. Last season we did a similar thing where we had 2 games back to back. In fact, next week as well, Liverpool play Fulham, early kick-off on the Saturday, and I believe they've got a behind closed doors friendly on the Sunday as well. So they're still very much trying to get a whole squad of players up and running and ready to kind of hit the ground running to some extent. So yeah, it's been a weird one. It's definitely probably a slightly more difficult to analyse. Much like yourselves, again, the addition of Darwin Núñez means potentially a slight change of style. Sadio Mane moving on the way that you've moved Raheem Sterling on as well. Very much a mainstay, maybe Mane more so than Sterling in the last year or so. But you know, a massive part of how Liverpool players moved on. Liverpool are going to have to adapt to that, as well as blooding in some new footballers who normally we would maybe take a little bit more time with. And that'll be the interesting thing. I think that's one of the big talking points ahead of this game and the first few weeks of the season. Beyond just Núñez versus Haaland, it's how integral are either of those players to what the side are doing. My sneaky suspicion is that Liverpool will be a bit more sparing in the use of Darwin Núñez. That might be slightly hampered by an injury to Diogo Jota, of course, who I think if he was fit, I think Jota probably would have started, been nailed on to start this game, or maybe if not the Fulham game. And then how much is Erling Haaland now the main man for Manchester City? Will he be thrust into it? Will he be told, right, you're now the guy leading everything goes through Haaland? That's going to be the really interesting thing to see, I think, because again, I think, and it's just my speculation on this, of course, is that, yeah, I think City kind of need Haaland to hit the ground running a little bit more maybe than Liverpool do Núñez. It's not by much, but it is a thing, certainly. So, yeah, Liverpool got some issues, 1 or 2 issues injury-wise ahead of this game. Mentioned Jota, Alisson Becker's going to miss out. That's a huge one for us. We've seen what difference goalkeepers can make in this game, particularly the FA Cup semi-final. Obviously, Stefan having an interesting performance. I think we were all... I didn't even know he'd moved on until Steve told me. A little bit gutted he won't be figuring in this game. Be interesting to see where the Pep goes with Ederson, having made almost the mistake of putting a second-choice goalkeeper in the FA Cup. Liverpool will have no choice but to go with our third-choice goalkeeper, who is Adrian, with Alisson back in training, but not going to be fit until the Premier League starts next week, and 𝐌𝐞𝐫𝐜𝐻, second choice goalie, out injured at the moment as well. So that's the big weakness in Liverpool's side, in addition to Jota, of course. And then on top of that, a couple of little injuries. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Tsimikas, not massive misses for the Reds. So they've got a pretty good squad to choose from. The big decisions will be who will partner Virgil van Dijk at centre-half, who will be the midfield 3, and whether he will throw Darwin Núñez in for the semi-competitive game, or will he go with the tried and tested Roberto Firmino. But I imagine it would be Adrian in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold will play right back, Andy Robertson will play left. It will be Virgil, and based on what we saw in the last pre-season game, probably Matip, but quite possibly 𝐿𝐼. If he's going strongest for forward, I suspect it would be Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson. Although Keita might get a nod in there instead of Henderson. And then it would be Luis Diaz, possibly Núñez or Firmino, and then Mohamed Salah on the right. But yes, exciting stuff. Looking forward to it. As we kick off another massive, stressful season of us and yous going toe-to-toe, even when we're not playing each other week in, week out, forever and ever and ever, and stress, and then one comes out on top. Looking forward to it. I hope you are too.